Right. Saint. Tim.
Sant. I was once an auctioneer at a charity auction. And the difficult thing about that is that you always get blamed because you don't get the right amount. So what you do is you have a plant, and if you have a reserve and you don't reach it, the plant puts their hand up and buys it back for the charity. Now, it was a patchwork quilt, beautiful patchwork quilt, that went from £40 to £50 and stopped, and suddenly my wife put up her hand at the reserve price of £180. I thought, good, she's the right plant, so I knocked it down to her and had to buy the quilt. Now, I'm glad because it's a lovely quilt. For those of you who don't know what patchwork quilts are like, you should look them close. They're beautiful work. It's very much early part of the century. I mean the 20th century, just in case this gets repeated. In America, where the women used to sit round at big occasions, weddings, christening, done these little quilts, and each piece of patchwork material that made up the quilt is a chant, sant. It's in fact a French Huguenot word. It really, I think, came from the bit round it, but it is actually the piece of patchwork quilt, a sant.
Yes, well, fine. Alan.
Santa George.
It's not just him, you've all been to auctions, so you all know about 17th century European tin-glazed soft pottery.
Yeah.
What
I
do you do?
didn't go to an auction.
You know the sort of these soft-based pots. They're chargers and they're posset pots and they're wall pockets and they're flower bricks. And they're really rather nice, but they're all chipped and cracked, otherwise you wouldn't be able to pick them up for as little as 10,000 quid. Now, in England, they're called Delft, after Dutch Delft, which we wanted to mimic, and they generally have a picture of Charles I, and it's very ill-drawn, sitting on something the size of a dog. But in Spain, they have Philip II and other kings. Now, this in England is called Delft, in France it's called faience, in Italy it's called maiolica, and in Spain it's called faiente. It's Spanish soft-glazed tinware.
Right. Sue.
Sant. It's French. You know the French word enceinte, which means pregnant. So it's to do with waists. And do you remember that scene in Gone with the Wind when Vivien Leigh wants to get an 18-inch waist?
Yes.
She's already got a 20-inch waist, and she wants to get it down to 18, and she holds onto the bedpost, and the black servant, played by the marvellous, I think her actress, the actress's name was Hattie McDaniels. Anyway, she pulls the strings or the threads or whatever they are on Vivien Leigh's waist nipper, and she gets her down to 18. Well, in the middle of that girdle would have been a little bit of woven material, and that actually is what the sant is. It's the woven bit in the middle of a girdle, such as our grandmothers used to wear, and such as some of us would actually like to be able to wear now, every now and then when we've had a good lunch. That's a sant.
Right. So it's a piece of patchwork material, a binding around a quilt perhaps, Spanish soft-glazed tinware, or it's a girdle, the woven portion of a girdle. It's either sant, saiente, or sant, and it goes to Thelma.
I don't sort of fancy the pottery, the tinware. I don't know why, but I don't. Do I have to explain myself?
No.
Right. The French waist, the
understand you perfectly.
girdle bit. I think that's a likely one. And the plant, not a plant at an auction. You put a plant at an auction. That's not what you said it was at all. You said it was a quilt.
That's right.
Part of a quilt. I don't think so. I think the Huguenots did a lot of quilts, but I've never heard of that. So I think I'll go for you, Sue. For
Right. Sue,
your
stand
girdly
up.
bit.
Yes. Well done. Yes, it is. Well done. The woven portion of a girdle, a saint, that was. Now, a rapid one, a bit of a spurt, everybody, please, with this. Paddock is the word, and it goes to Graeme rather quickly.
Right, it may startle you to hear that the paddock is a kind of bird. And have your smelling salts ready, because I can reveal that it is a kind of duck. The paddock is, in fact, the common mallard, Anas platyrhynchos, at home on pond, lake, or dinner plate. Paddock, the common mallard.
Thank you, Graeme. Sandy?
I used to have a rowboat which I powered with a paddock, which was annoying because the horse kept getting out. And but But it's a rather good thing, and it's a sort of a long oar that you use both to propel and to steer with.
Right?
Long oar.
Thelma.
It's neither of those things, of course. Paddock is an untwilled linen, a very strong one that sailing ships used to take on board, and it was to make sails, small sails, jackets and trousers for sailors. The only difficulty came when there was very little left and you had to decide whether you had a sail or a new pair of bell-bottoms, or was there just enough to make some baggy wrinkles, which you will know all about as you're a yachtswoman, I believe.
You know about baggy wrinkles.
So
I know
that's
about
it.
that.
That's it.
Thank you.
Strong untwilled linen.
So, it's another name for the mallard. It is a long oar to propel or steer a boat, or it's a kind of cloth. Paddock. Tim.
Well, Sandi went through every single sounding like a paddle, paddock, long oar, very probably. Graeme is a mallard. You're not the bird watcher. I think it could be that. Thelma, I'm going to go for Sandi's.
Sandi, it's you.
Not a
No, it isn't. Well, again, one of the guests. Let's see who it is. Oh, yes. So, it's the part of a sail or a pair of trousers, that kind of cloth, a paddock, which brings us to the end of this particular programme, with a score at 5 to Sandi's team and 1 to Alan's. And it's time to say goodbye from Sue McGregor, Alan Coren, Tim Brooke-Taylor, Thelma Barlow, Sandi Toksvig and Graeme Garden. And from me too, until next time, bye-bye.